So the media is showing this picture, Portland's wall of moms shield protesters as demonstrations continue. So following most news, you would think that nothing else is going on in Portland. It's just a bunch of peaceful protests, and Donald Trump and federal agents are crazy for wanting to restore law and order. But just a few days ago, they literally broke into the Portland Police Association office and lit the building on fire. And a lot more is happening than just those moms holding hands. Take a look. People have been vandalizing federal courthouses, other buildings, and just lighting stuff on fire, trying to break in. At one point, even lighting their own friend on fire. A jewelry store looted and an H&M set on fire. But the media doesn't want to tell you that. And Ted Wheeler, the mayor of Portland, doesn't want to tell you that. And here's the funniest thing. Not only is he ignoring it, covering it up, blaming anybody who tries to stop it, he actually decided to go there in person and support the protests, which are obviously not just protests. But despite going to show his support, he got booed, attacked, and yelled at constantly.
Qualified immunity. We're trying to change. Okay, because police are civil servants. They serve us. So why do they get qualified? They should never. Okay, and my question is, what else are you going to do about this crooked? No.
That's your tear gas right there. That's your tear gas right there. That's your tear gas right there.
Don't touch it. He came out here. He's late. He's here. Right? He's late.
There's a message to be learned here. The mob is never going to like you. They're never going to care. Even if you bow down to them, even as a Democrat, progressive, far left-wing mayor, you try to do everything that they want, show support for them, cover up their crimes, and they still hate you. I saw that in Minneapolis when left-wing Mayor Jacob Frey went to the protest and got booed and told to go home.
Oh, he's up for re-election next year. He's up for re-election next year. And if he says no, guess what the we gonna do next year? Louder, one more time.
Loud and clear.
Louder.
I do not support full abolition.
All right. Loud. Don't waste our time. Get the fuck here.
I wish I could feel bad for these people, but they're getting exactly what they deserve. They bow down, they let lawlessness take over their city, they let dozens of businesses and federal buildings get destroyed. In Minneapolis, it looks like somebody actually died in one of the fires. And then after purposely not protecting their city for political reasons and acting like they don't even see it, it didn't even happen, then they ask for federal money after they let their own city get destroyed. These people are disgusting and wicked, but I guess people hate the president so much that they're willing to ignore anything. The Overton window has moved so far that almost nothing matters anymore. It's disgusting. I hope people break out of their mind control and brainwash soon. And back to the mayor of Portland, Ted Wheeler.
Did you have fun?
Did you notice that laser on him? They were trying to mess with his vision or blind him. At least 3 federal officers may be permanently blinded by rioters in Portland shining lasers into their eyes. And I'm sure some protesters or rioters or whatever you want to call these people have been damaged as well. I've seen pictures of them losing their eye and being blinded. It's going both ways. But the story of the media, like with pretty much everything they do, if you haven't realized that the media is dishonest, wicked, negative, nasty, and completely backwards with almost everything they do, it's time to start learning, because they're one of the biggest problems in this country, more so than both political parties. They lie, they mislead, they divide, they tell opposite stories, they cover certain stuff up. We're never going to be a thriving nation if they continue to be this disgusting and this immoral. In Chicago, every weekend, it's worse than a war zone. You had people get shot at a funeral recently, kids dying left and right. Black Lives Matter doesn't care because they don't really care about all black lives. They only care about a cop or a certain race.
When you look in the city of Chicago, there are 9 children who've died by gun violence, by black-on-black gun violence, from June 20th all the way to today. And you're talking about, even with the Atlanta child murders, there were 28 kids who died in 2 years.
The Black Lives Matter movement was started because it was talking about police brutality. If you want an all Black Lives Matter movement that talks about gun violence in communities, including, black communities, then start that movement with that name. But that's not what Black Lives Matter is about. It's not an all-encompassing.
Either we're going to normalize this stuff or cover it up and act like it's not happening or just become accustomed to it, or at some point, some leader is going to have to fix it and try to save people's lives. Ted Wheeler refuses to save people's lives. Lori Lightfoot doesn't care. Jacob Frey doesn't care. They act like it's not happening, and then when you try to fix the problem that they create or can't solve, then they blame you. But like with what you saw with Ted Wheeler and Jacob Frey, who cares anymore? They're gonna blame you if you do nothing. They're gonna blame you if you do something. If you say this, they blame you. If you say that, they blame you. If you bow down to most of their demands, they blame you. They're never gonna like you, even if you're the most far left progressive mayor who bows down to them. They're never gonna like you. And if you look at the history of Marxism, this has been a common trend anywhere that ideology has gone. It's a self-defeating ideology that destroys even their own leaders. But that's another story.
And yet these people who've been programmed and, as you say, in place, and who are favorable to an opening with the Soviet concept, these are the very people who would be marked for extermination in this country?
Most of them, yes. Simply because the psychological shock when they will see in future what the beautiful society of equality and social justice means in practice, obviously they will revolt. They will be very unhappy, frustrated people. And the Marxist-Leninist regime does not tolerate these people. They will join the links of dissenters, dissidents.
It reminds me of parenting. It's like if you let your kid just do whatever and don't stop them or discipline them, they're gonna end up being bad kids. And with what Ted Wheeler and Jacob Frey are doing, it's not even just that. It's like if your kids are doing heroin, not only do you not stop them from doing it, but then you actually do it with them to show them it's okay. Of course these cities aren't going to get fixed. You've had over 50 days of burnings, looting, rioting, defacing property, vandalizing, complete chaos. No law and no order. And instead of solving it or admitting it's happening or trying to recapture certain blocks of your neighborhood and federal buildings and police stations, you justify what they're doing? Of course it's never going to stop. Of course some moms and some people are peaceful protesters. I would say maybe even a majority of them are. There's tens of hundreds of thousands of people who aren't. And if you're not concerned about that and you don't admit it, then you're just a liar. Burning, vandalizing, domestic terrorism, destroying federal buildings, lighting stuff on fire, and in many cases committing murder is not protected by the First Amendment. However, even epidemiologists and these health experts are bending over backwards to justify what is not just a protest. These people are sick. And recently Michelle Malkin tried to have a peaceful Back the Blue pro-police rally, which is protected by the First Amendment, and ended up getting attacked. And according to her report, the police were told to stand down. So no First Amendment if you're right-wing. Protesting the lockdown order is dangerous if you're right-wing. If you're left-wing, no matter if you're peacefully protesting, they're going to make excuses for you saying it's not spreading the virus. And if you're not peacefully protesting, they're going to do what Twitter does and most mainstream media does, pretend like it's not even happening. And this strategy of just putting the moms at the front is a strategy that terrorists use. They put women and children at the front of what they're doing. So if you attack them, you hit the women and children and they say, oh my God, look, it's just women and children. And I'm not saying a lot of these people with the moms weren't peaceful, but do they not see what's going on? I mean, look at these buildings. Yes, it's not everywhere in Portland, but are we a captured country right now? People tell me it's just a few blocks, it's not the whole city. Well, of course, but that's what happens in war-torn countries. It's like, yeah, the whole country's not been taken over, but certain areas and certain communities have been taken over. Are we a captured, conquered country where we just let buildings set on fire and say, well, at least it's not your neighborhood. At least it's not your business getting looted. I mean, somebody has that business. Somebody owns that building, but it's not you. Is that the country you want to live in? Because that's not the country I want to live in. And I saw recently an Ohio man was taken into custody after kneeling on a crying white child's neck, praising Black Lives Matter. If the races were reversed or the politics were reversed, you'd have lootings, riots, burnings, vandalizing, and complete chaos in most major cities across the country. They're just waiting for an excuse to go destroy stuff under the guise of pretending to care about somebody's lives that they didn't even know existed 2 days ago. But when Chicago turns into a bloodbath every weekend, or you see sick people with this sick ideology hurting little babies, you don't see people rioting and burning stuff down, because that's not what sane, responsible people do. And a lot of people think it stopped. I watched them destroy Los Angeles. They destroyed an entire neighborhood in West Hollywood. They went to Santa Monica and just destroyed areas of Santa Monica. It's still not been recovered. It still looks like a war zone today. And Portland, in certain areas, have been over 50 days of this crazy stuff. And the point I'm trying to get to is, there are Republicans like Rand Paul who think Trump shouldn't send in federal agents. Of course, Democrats don't agree with it, but there is a discussion to be had about who should solve this. But I want to be very clear. One, most mainstream media is not even talking about the issue. How can you solve a problem that they cover up and pretend like isn't even happening? And two, it's very, very clear that a lot of Democrat mayors and governors literally don't care. They cover it up. They support what's going on. They have no plans of stopping it. They don't want to allow their police to do their jobs. In fact, they want to cut resources, money, and numbers for these police officers so they have even less of a chance of stopping this. So at a certain point, I don't care if you're libertarian Rand Paul or a Democrat, if Trump or federal agents don't do it, it's probably not going to get done. So if you just want to watch major cities get conquered, crime to surge, and then they say, surging crime is a right-wing conspiracy theory, or it's a horrible topic that's racist. It's like, do you not care about these kids getting murdered? I mean, it has nothing to do with politics. It's just a fact. But in general, either it's going to get done or it's not, because these mayors have their priorities screwed up and have no desire to fix the problem. And in general, if you're committing domestic terrorism against a federal building, burning businesses, vandalizing property, at a certain point legally, I would think that federal officers would be allowed to protect a federal building. Let me know your thoughts, but overall, we have a lot to get over in this country. We just had a 2-week shutdown turn into a 4-month shutdown, which might turn into a 2-year shutdown, something that the left and the right can agree on. Jeff Bezos is just swallowing up small businesses, and not just because he has a good service and a free market, because the federal government has shut down most businesses, so all you could do is buy Amazon. We're at risk of turning into a third world country, losing our freedom, and losing our status as one of the better countries in the world, and nobody's talking about it because we're having all these side wars where we're hurting ourselves, we're destroying our own communities, we're tearing down our own leaders, and most of the people doing that don't have these grandiose plans or ideas to really build a solution that's better. If you tear something down, you need to be able to build something better. But a lot of these people, all they know how to do is tear down and destroy. And a lot of this stuff starts internally. Gratefulness, appreciation, and treat others the way you want to be treated. If we don't start doing that on both sides of politics, whether it be the police or the protesters, we're going to have some serious problems in this country like you're seeing now. But I just wanted to show the story that most media isn't. That was the reason for this. God bless you guys. I appreciate you. If you'd like to support, I have a Patreon where I can answer messages, patreon.com/raretalk. I answer all messages there. I have a Facebook supporter thing where I do live streams every month, and we do it privately with people who are supporters. But no worries, almost everything I do is free because I want people to see it. God bless you. Thank you for watching and sharing, and have a good day.